Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. I am okay and I hope you will be also okay. Today is the second lecture of BBA Semester 4 Business Communication. Today the topic we discuss is that demonstration of effective listening behavior. What is listening or effective listening? Listening means you are hearing something apparently. So when we know effective listening means this is the ability actively understand information provided by the speaker and display interest in the topic discussed. It can also include providing the speaker with feedback such as asking some question. Now listening is a process of receiving oral stimulus. Listening is an active rather than passive process. Listening does not just happen, we must make it happen. A great time is spent on listening and talking. Listening serves two purposes in its process. Number one, as the sender of the message, listening to your receiver tells you how the other person has interpreted your message. Number two, as the receiver of a message, listening to the other person allows you to understand their meaning. And also, what is the difference between listening and hearing? Hearing is a physical process. The ear receives stimuli or sensation and transmits them to brain. Listening refers to the interpret process that takes place when we hear something, when we listen, to classify and label information. Listening is the most important of all the communication skills. Upon awakening, we listen to people, friends around us. Whenever we go, we listen to something. We spend most of our time engaged in listening. Listening occupies more time than any other communication. And what is the purpose of the listening? If we are fulfilling the purpose of the listening, the such kind of the listening is called an effective listening. Listening serves a number of important processes. It enables the listener to check on the accuracy of understanding what the speaker said. Besides, the listener expresses acceptance of speaker's feeling. Most important of all, listening provides a chance to the speaker to explore his or her feelings and thoughts further. A variety of the listening skills can be learned and developed with practice. There are also some important methods of the listening, and also we can say it important skills of the listening. By carrying out of these skills, we can also communicate in a form of the listening very effectively. Number one, attending listening. Attending listening means when you are listening something very effectively, when someone is also asking something or speaking to you. In attending listening, you focus on speaker by giving them your physical attention. You use whole body, eye contact, posture, personal space, in short, complete feedback. Number two, encouraging listening. It invites speaker to stay more without pressing them to disclose their feelings or thought. It is their choice. Minimal and brief responses. Brief spoken responses let speaker know you are listening and encouraging them to talk. Pause. While you are listening, while you are talking, a brief pause allows speaker time to consider, reflect, and decide whether to continue speaking. Allow silence. Use encouraging questions, which are generally known as the 5Ws: who, when, what, who, whose. And now the reflecting listening. Reflecting listening means that when you are listening attentively, restate the speaker feelings and contents. It shows the other person you understand. When you understand any kind of the speech, any kind of the communication which is delivered at the spot, so you must show response, not apparently. You can also show it innerly. If you are attentively listen the speaker and understand the whole conversation and what he wants to convey to you, so it means that you are also listening effectively. There are also another one form of the listening, that is the active listening. An active listener has empathy with the speaker that shows that you understand the issue from other person's point of view. Feedback is the connecting, continuing, or completing link. And now there are also some faults which can also become the hurdle in effective listening behavior. Prejudice. Number one, all of us have personal opinions, attitudes, or beliefs about certain things. When we listen to a speaker who is contrary to our ideas, we cannot maintain attention. As a result, we do not listen to what he says. He should give a chance to the speaker to finish his message. Later, we can agree or disagree. And now, distraction. Not only the verbal message, but also the non-verbal cues of the speaker affect our listening. Actually, the entire physical environment affects listening. Among the negative factors are noisy fans, poor lights, distracting background music, bang of horn, extreme weather. Among the speaker's non-verbal cues are his clothes, his voice quality, his wearing of a certain perfume, reek of sweets, excessive gestures, and so on. And now, semantic barrier. Semantic barrier means of word also create problem in listening, as meaning of words vary from person to person, influenced by feeling, attitudes, prejudices, and biases. Sometimes the way a speaker utters a word annoys us. And now the next one is that pre-shrinking. Pre-shrinking is another important part of the listening. The average thinking capacity of a person is up to 800 words per minute, while the average speaker utters 80 to 160 words per minute. This difference sometimes makes listener deviate from the speaker's word and they shift to something else. On the other hand, people fill this gap by premature evaluation of what they are listening to. They arrive at the concluding gap thought quickly. This premature evaluation poses us our effective listening is impaired. boredom or lack of interest, listeners' dislike of speaker, desire to change rather than accept the speaker, tendency to make early conclusion, intrusion of listeners' own values or attitudes, listeners' opinion that the speaker lacks credibility, ways to improve listening. So now there are also some important qualities of a listener, and you must understand it very clearly. For example, when you are listening very attentively, you can also understand very well in a way. Now, what should a listener do at the point while listening any speaker? Number one, he should be cautious. Good listeners always not hasty in making judgments. Good listeners pay careful attention to the word and try to understand what is the real meaning of the speaker, what he wants to convey. He goes in the depth of the words and try to understand accurately. And now a listener should be inquisitive. Good listeners ask questions not to embarrass or attack, but to clarify and refine. If a listener is unable to understand any point, definitely he must ask some important questions pertaining to the lecture, which are creating a hurdle in the process of the understanding. So that's why he has a right or she has a right to asking relevant question about the topic. And now the listener should be active. He should not be lazy. They work hard to understand. They exert energy in listening. A listener should be flexible. Good listener understand that anyone has different communication styles and adjust their listening to corresponds to the speaker's communication style. If he completely understand the style, the way of the speaker, definitely he can understand well. And when he is in this position to understand well, he achieves the object of the listening and can also it may helpful to understand the point. And now a listener should be tactful. Good listener interrupt intentionally and gently rather than habitually and rashly. Definitely, a listener should be a very relevant to the topic and try to understand what the speaker wants to convey. Now the persistent, a listener should be persistent. What the speaker say and what the speaker wants to convey him or her. Good listeners are willing to listen to something even if it is hard to hear. They do not stop listening as soon as they become offended or turned off by the speaker. And he should be very fond of the listening. If he listens very interestingly, so the process of the listening can become more effective and favorable for him. And now the nature of the listener should be analytical. Good listeners pay attention to both verbal and non-verbal communication, and he analyzes mentally what the speaker wants to convey and what is the hidden message lies in his communication. So now a listener should be sophisticated. Good listener understand that every act of the communication takes place in a context or setting. They consider the way the context of a communication event shapes the meaning. Definitely, now a speaker is also having a conversation, having a communication in a specific scenario. Definitely, such kind of the conversation is not appropriate according to the situation, but also a listener must keeps in the mind what is the scenario, what is the perspective of this conversation, Definitely, a speaker always having a conversation according to the topic and requirement of the situation. Maybe this is a very tactful skill of the listening, because any listener misunderstand any listening, because if he distract his vision from the original viewpoint in the perspective of the speaking, so now there should be a lot of the skills and lot of the and lot of the steps a listener should follow to understand any kind of the listening, because a good listener always quickly ends an element of the misunderstanding. It indicates your good grooming that leads to valuable gain. It enables you to communicate fluently and nicely. It gives you a good understanding of different topics and subjects. It introduces good decision and makes your mental ability strong. Good listening enhances your knowledge about new facts and also motivates you. Definitely, when you carry out all the principles and all the skills which are very important to listen effectively, so you can also become a very good listener, and this process can also be very helpful in the process of the understanding effectively. And now a listener should also understand what is the object of the rise and fall in the voice of the speaker, and definitely a speaker and a listener must have eye to eye contact with one another. While your distracting can also be become hurdle in your listening. So that's why a listener should keep his attention in the conversation, in the communication, which is also conveying at the point. So now show the target that you want to listen, because definitely when you are listening attentively, now the speaker can also avoid to communicate in a way which is not acceptable according to the situation. Definitely he will review that, okay, now the listener is attentive and he tries to convey very important and relevant detail which is requirement of the listener. And now a listener should be a very attentive and careful while he is listening. The now demonstration of effective listening is a process which can be achieved by the mutual understanding of the listener and the speaker. When the speaker conveys effectively and now the listener listens it very accurately and effectively, attentively, now the process of this communication can be achieved. So I hope you will understand it. Assalamu alaikum.